It was just a normal Monday morning in Childers 28 years ago when Eris Duffy, a young apprentice linesman, kissed his wife goodbye, went to work and changed his life forever.
What we were doing in that area at the time was changing all the swirl line into new high voltage three-phase conductors. So we're upgrading the old swir into new three-phase.
When Eris arrived on site that morning, he and the tradesman he was assigned to had to recover a set of rollers from another part of the site they'd been working on the previous Friday. As they approached the site in their vehicle, they made their first potentially deadly error as they checked on their work from days earlier.
And we just checked it from the car window. We just drove underneath it, checked the distances between the swirl line and the new high voltage. We considered that to be fine. Yeah, there was the optical illusion between two power lines sort of looked like it was the right distances, and we proceeded on down to our work site.
It would be a mistake that could have cost the men their lives.
Had we have stopped and got out and had a look and taken 5, we would have realised that the distances between the two power lines had diminished quite considerably over the weekend due to the heavy rain, and the stay at the back of the corner pole had actually started to pull out of the ground, and the power lines had got closer together.
Unaware of how the newly strung but dead three-phase lines had dropped towards the live 11 kV swirl line, the men reached a transformer pole near the rollers, climbed it and set about their work. Eris stood on one side of the crossarm with his body passing up through the dead three-phase lines, and his partner linesman stood on the opposite side of the arm. Keep in mind, some of the practices shown here are not in line with today's safe work practices.
The task was that I lifted the existing new section of power line with my left hand while hanging onto the crossarm with my right hand. And from there, the power line in my left hand got a wave up and went down onto the swirl line that was back down along the section. So it bounced down onto the top of the swirl line.
At that moment, 11,000 volts of electricity charged through Eris's arm and throughout his body. Doctors estimated a wristwatch Eris was wearing instantly became heated to about 5,000 degrees centigrade, effectively cauterizing every blood vessel and muscle in his lower left arm as the charge exited his body.
At that moment, on the point of contact, was a white flash, and I can remember myself tipping upside down in my body belt and facing the ground.
The near-fatal surge of electricity charged up his left hand, seared a large area around his waist before it exited through his back, his upper right arm and his left wrist. It was nothing short of a miracle he survived. His partner also suffered some electric shocks in the chest and hand, however he managed to get down the ladder and radio for help. Later, back on the ground, Eris's first conscious thoughts were for his wife Robin, who was 6 months pregnant with their first child. For Robin, the memory of the anguish of that day is still very vivid, and the thought of nearly losing her husband and raising a child by herself still triggers a raw pain even years later.
I suppose what it has shown us is that live life to the fullest, have safe practices, because you don't realise who it's going to affect. It has a huge impact on your family and your extended family. So if anybody wants to come forward with their story, then hopefully it may help somebody else to come home safe to their family.
If one thing came out of my accident was that you take the time to investigate the whole job. Not just the little part that you're going to do today. You might be climbing on something, you might be dealing with high voltage, you might be doing something menial, but look at the whole job that can affect you. One misjudgment can mean your life, you're dead, or your family's without you. It's as simple as that.